Welcome to the Creative Brew, helping you keep your creative juices brewing. We're giving out chunks of insight, motivation, and practicality for your creative journey. We've got some great partners with the Creative Brew. First of all, Panels Comics and Coffee Bar here in beautiful Oceanside, California, right off of Mission Avenue. They've got some of the hottest graphic novels and comics out right now. They also have a wide assortment of merchandise, toys, as well as back issue vintage comic books, and that I'm sure has some hidden gems in there. If you mention the Creative Brew, you'll get 10% off of your next purchase. You can also check them out on social media at Panels Coffee or go to panelscoffee.com. My next partner is Elevate Coffee Trading, and if you appreciate specialty coffee, enjoy outdoor adventure, and love helping elevate the lives of children around the world, then you're going to love Elevate Coffee Trading. Their mission is to extract hope through love, coffee, and adventures. There's free shipping in the United States, and every bag of coffee helps sponsor health and education for children in coffee-producing countries and in areas of need in the United States. You can use promo code ELEVATE21 on your next order, and you can follow their journey on social media at Elevate Coffee Trading, or you can visit online at elevatecoffeetrading.com, and let's start extracting hope together. Another partner of mine is Astropad, and if you're a digital creator like me and you constantly use your iPad Pro, you can actually use Astropad to change your graphics tablet into another professional graphics tablet, so you can use Photoshop, full versions of Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, all your favorite programs right on your iPad Pro or graphics tablet. This has been an awesome tool for me because I'm always having to do some fine-tuning, editing, repainting, recoloring on various design projects or working on logos. Astropad is a huge asset for me. For teachers and students and educators, they actually have a great deal going on right now. This is an annual subscription, so it's a subscription app, but it's been a huge tool for me, and I don't know what I would do without Astropad. So you can check them out at Astropad app or go to astropad.com. And my last sponsor is the KoboPod. KoboPod is a boutique video and audio production studio based in Oceanside, California. And if you're a podcaster, vlogger, content creator, you should really come by and check out the venue for yourself. Anytime that I bring in a guest, they're amazed by the setup, amazed by the quality, the production value. Like I said, I think the Creative Brew just went up a notch. I actually went up incredible levels partnering up with the KoboPod and been able to create, 4K video. Everything looks great. Even the photographer that we have on staff, I use a lot of their photography for branded assets for the Creative Brew, as well as the audio for my podcast and my radio show. So if you want to feel like booking your session, and maybe you're thinking about starting a podcast, or maybe heck, you want to just sit in one day. I'm doing a podcast, or I'm doing a show. Hey, come by, check it out. See the venue, see the setup, check out everybody. It's a great vibe here. But let's book your session today at kobopod.org. And another sponsor is Baba Coffee, that is here in here in Carlsbad, California. Great vibes, good coffee. I love the setup over there. They actually offer wine, coffee, dessert, food. I love the avocado toast over there. Check it out. That's one that I would recommend. And right now, they're actually every Sunday. And it's actually going on right now. Is they have live music and food trucks, I believe. So they'll have a chef there as well as live music. So come by, go by Baba Coffee, and they're there for a few hours. So they usually have some different entertainment every Sunday. So go by there, check it out. So I wanted to give a special shout out to my new sponsor for the show, Baba Coffee. Welcome to a new episode of the Creative Brew, giving you insights on your creative journey. Today we have a special guest, new guest today, Eliza Martin. She is which she'll tell a little bit more about herself, but she was the CHOP 2020 champion. So if anyone that's watched that show before, she was the 2020 champion, and I'm sure that could be a real high intensity competition, I would assume. But I'll let Eliza sort of share her story, and we'll get going with the show.
Awesome. Yeah, it's funny, the chop competition almost felt like another day in the restaurant. So just like on hyper speed, going a little more wild. Um, so my name's Eliza. I'm a professional chef. I like to say I'm a chef entertainer. I do a lot of teaching now. I spent over 12 years in restaurant industry, kind of head down and grinding. I started my journey in New York City, and I fell in love with food and food media working for the Rachel Ray Show. And I just kind of felt determined. I felt like I really needed to teach people who were, kids who had just graduated from college alongside me, how to get in touch with their hands, how to cook. 'Cause I had suddenly fallen in love with this wild, like, food artistry thing. Um, so I like pitched this idea to some sort of higher up at a Food Network show, and they were like, "But do you know how to cook?" And I was like, "What? I don't, no." They're like, probably you should go to culinary school. So 3 weeks later, I did. Um, and the rest of it kind of unfolded from there, man. I started culinary school. I did that for 9 months. I graduated. I started working for food magazines. I started working for American Upscale Restaurant. I was a part of an opening crew, which means we started from the ground up with our restaurant. I worked for a very high-end catering company, and basically anything anybody asked me to do, I said yes. And then I spent several years being a glorified intern. And after that, I got very, very lucky. Within a year of graduating from culinary school, I auditioned for this competition that I'd heard about through the James Beard Foundation, um, which is basically the Grammys for restaurant world.
Wow.
It's sort of this amazing foundation out of New York. And they were sponsoring a women in culinary leadership program, since there were not a whole heck, there were like 2% of executive chefs at that time who were female. So they're trying to get a little bit more ladies in the kitchen. So I won the competition. I got to go to Chicago and I started working in Indian food, which, if you just look at me, I walked into an Indian restaurant and had no idea what I was doing. I couldn't even pronounce some of the menu items. And I just kind of tumbled in head first. And that kind of led me to the next step. And then the next step, I started to fall more in love with teaching. I worked at a Creole restaurant training often homeless or at risk folks how to become line cooks. Continued my love for teaching and started an aquaponic farming company that partnered with Chicago Public Schools to try to bring gardens indoors for kids to, again, learn about the food. And then I was offered an executive chef role in San Francisco. So I scurried on over to the West Coast and took over an Italian restaurant, and still found myself teaching. I would organize these kids' classes to come in and make a mess of the dining room and teach them how to make pasta. I was giving away recipes to our guests, which my restaurant owner was not a fan of. And I just sort of decided I needed to teach full time. Now that I finally had the accolades, I finally had kind of like learned how to move around a kitchen, and was still very much in love with cooking as a art form and a love language. So I joined a children's culinary school, and when I moved to Oceanside here in SoCal, I hooked up with a couple different schools, and now I teach full time. So I work at elementary school, running a garden program. I work at a high school for some at-risk youth, really helping them to also, come back in touch with their hands. And I work as a speaker for colleges.
Oh, wow. That
It's been a while, for a little ride.
yeah. That's now from
It's crazy, but the through line in all of that, it was just I- selfishly, I wanted to learn, but I wanted to learn so I could teach, so I could pass it
yeah.
on, because I really feel that this knowledge should be free. I feel like we should be teaching, the next generation how to take care of themselves with food.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and I am fearful that if chefs don't do it, I don't know who's going to. So we gotta kind of pay it forward and pass it on in some way.
That's awesome. So from you getting to where you're at now, like what was the time span on that? Because it seemed like you you did a lot of stuff. Like was that like was that like in a 10-year time span, or is that I mean I didn't know.
Yeah, a decade. I just gave it to you in like 5 minutes. I I graduated from culinary school in 2012, and here we are in 2022.
Okay.
So I spent roughly 2 to 3 years in every one of the America's largest cities,
Wow.
and now I live down here for about 2 years, a year and a half in SoCal.
Wow. You have not stopped. Wow.
I'm not stopped,
Um,
and that's why food is so cool because you really can never, ever, ever learn it all. I will never be an expert in every cuisine, which is why it's so exciting for me and why I love, especially with kids, like getting it in their hands and having those little tiny light bulbs go off. But and then it sparks their creativity, and then they get hungry, literally and figuratively. They get hungry for like more, and so I don't know. That's the beauty of feeding ourselves, right? Such an interesting art, such a lost form.
oh yeah, I would agree on that. I mean, so you for you find more fulfillment being more of a teacher than being in that sort of that executive shelf grind.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a great question. I think I struggled a little bit when I left my executive chef role because it felt so great to have that kind of title and
yeah.
me running my own team. Not that that was without its challenges. Again, look at me. I walk into a restaurant and I'm suddenly like the head honcho. And my team was not super thrilled with me at first. It took a while to kind of win them over with kindness. But I've always had that kind of struggle. I'm, a young white female walking in the kitchen world, and that is something that's not necessarily the norm. So, um, it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. But I think for me, letting go of that title was really tricky. But I had to be kind of an ego check. Like, to have a title and have a role is great on paper, but what it meant for my life and what I felt fulfilled doing was a little different. So, yeah, I really felt like I needed it. I remember the exact moment when I was like, I think I'm done. I was like I had gone out to greet some of our guests at the Italian restaurant, and they were just in awe of this homemade ravioli I had made. And I was like, you guys don't know how easy that is? I'm really not sure why you're paying $35 for that plate. I like, here's what I just did. So, so I was kind of in that moment. I was like, maybe I need to do something a little different. And I've been a performer before my life as a restaurant person. I was pursuing theater and have a degree in musical theater, and so the song and dance performance of getting to teach and combining my love for food is just kind of like a happy little pairing for me. And my teaching doesn't stop at kids. Like I run these corporate virtual cooking classes quite frequently too. And so, even the Googlers of the world need a little help in the kitchen. So, we got to help the techies too.
That's amazing.
But yeah.
I was sort of, there's certain things just, doing some more, just speaking and doing just, yeah, even with my own creative practice. And,
Mhm.
you start to go into, you get to a certain part of your career, you go into some sort of, introspection at times. But I've sort of
Mhm.
noticed that, I mean, even with you, that like a lot of the things that, I think that that you're doing now, like I think I really feel like even like you having that hunger to teach and be able to share knowledge, like I always feel like those little seeds, like
Mhm.
those breadcrumbs that like they're always sort of drop down in your life,
Mhm.
in certain parts of your in certain parts of your journey. And I think sometimes it sort of tells you, the direction that you need to go. I think people that even like you, that's always been, that's always loved to sort of share knowledge or teach. Um, Sometimes a lot of times you can always see like a direct reflection on what they were doing or how they experience certain things in their, just through
Mhm.
the course of their life. You see things
Mhm.
to where they're always like they've always been in some kind of teaching aspect or some kind of coaching aspect, or they've always
Yeah.
been, a very talented,
leader or a manager or a cook or anything like that. I always, I mean, what do you feel about that? I mean, you always feel like maybe just looking back at your own life and like you look back and like, wow, like those little breadcrumbs were always sitting there. What do you feel about that?
Well, obviously, I love your food innuendo. Of course, there were breadcrumbs all along the trail for me. Amazing. So covered in them, really. Um, I think that's so interesting to think about. I actually think that perhaps maybe the difference between folks who find success, or maybe at least find fulfillment, are the people who say yes to those little through lines, as opposed to kind of fighting them. I really think the world kind of shows you where you're meant to go. You just have to say yes, even if it's the most terrifying yes you've ever given. Like, you just gotta say yes. If the door is open, go and walk through. If it, I think the world kind of shows you, but you have to be open to it. And if you're not, you're gonna miss the breadcrumbs. You're gonna miss dinner. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. I think, yeah, for sure. The through line for me has always been wanting to teach, wanting to help in some respect, um, and give as much knowledge as possible to whomever I'm teaching.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I just in my own life. My granddad, he was actually he was had these little community gardens,
Oh, wow.
and even like when I was little, like I was his little assistant. So he showed me like how to till the soil and planting seeds and watering and watching it grow, and then obviously harvesting and even now when I look back, I'm like, wow, he was showing me this, even the concept of it, and a lot of the concepts is things that I use in a lot of my work. Um,
Wow.
and so it's like little things you think about, like, wow, he was showing me when I don't think he really knew, but it's just
Mm-mm.
one of those where you take that experience and
Oh, yeah.
um,
I don't know if any of our mentors ever know. Do they ever know that they're making such an impact? I mean,
I don't
we're
know. I
we're
don't.
equally doing the same things.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you ever know. I mean, I think you feel like you want to make an impact, but sometimes you really don't see the actual impact of it until years down the road when, someone you talk to, comes back and like, hey, thank you for showing me this. Now I can, run my
Mhm.
own restaurant, or now I can, you know, I'm cooking for all these people. I don't think we ever really see the true impact, ramifications until years down the road, or
You're
uh,
lighting my fire again here, man.
yeah.
Like, oh, we got look at all the people we got to affect. It's a domino effect, right?
But
The gift that you give too,
yeah,
they
yeah,
kind of
it's
like they pay it on, they pay it forward.
yeah, yep. I mean, I think that's what I told, actually, talking to one of the students today is, I was like, you've got a great opportunity because you're in a situation where you're getting all this knowledge from someone that's been there. And like
Yeah.
when I was in middle school, like I didn't have that. It's like
Mm-mm.
it was just like, hey, you're an artist, you love to draw. I don't know what's gonna come of it.
Right.
And so yeah, and honestly, you go out and obviously trial and error, things work, things don't work. But now I've had the opportunity now to sort of come back full circle and share my knowledge with some aspiring creators. And I'm still learning too. I mean, I think I'm always been a sort of just continual student, and sort of
Yeah.
building my craft and learning how can I become a better creator or communicator.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's always just a continual learning process.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
and I know I'm sure you share the same sentiments. I mean, with all the things that you've done, I mean, what have you said no to?
Boyfriends. my my work just always comes first. That's how I've always been. Um, yeah, and I think my husband now can attest to that. Actually, a lot of my life stuff I pushed as like a back burner item, and like the work I was involved in has and still does almost always come first. Um, yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, I think that there are some people who are really great at saying yes, but when you say yes to like the really hard stuff, that's when your real character comes through. And putting yourself in situations that are highly uncomfortable can only lead to growth. I think. I mean, right? You gotta throw. We say you throw them into the fire when you get thrown on the line, and you gotta like sink or swim, like get figure it out. And that's how you learn. The sweat, the blood, the tears. It's like, and I love what you said too about being an ongoing student. I think that that is also what definitely dictates success is staying curious in whatever field you're in and consistently trying to hone your craft. If you think you've made it, you probably haven't made it. So you've got to like keep learning and growing. And we talked a little bit about mentors, but finding those mentors in your life, even if it's just like for a day, for me, that would look like staging in a kitchen at a restaurant and learning a new way to butcher something or craft something, whatever that might be, and continuing on the like journey to keep trying to perfect, even though you're never going to quite perfect it, and then kind of passing it on. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. I mean, it's one of those where I don't think it'll ever, you know, I don't know. I know personally I can be my own worst self-critic.
Hmm.
And I know the work that I could put out, people could love and not gonna be like, oh, I probably should have considered this. I don't know. I think I just have, I don't know, just maybe some just crazy high expectations for, just for me or, just maybe the things that I want to, put out in the world. I mean, I just want to
Hmm.
make sure that, I want to make sure that I communicate it as effectively as possible. But, I think I think whatever I do, I think as long as you do it with love and intention, great love and intention, and I think it always comes out good. I talk to my wife, and like a lot of times I'll go to different restaurants, and I might get like a sandwich or I'll get something, and I can tell right off the bat. I'm like they did not cook this with love, and I'll taste it, and
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh. The very first restaurant I worked in, which I got this gig by luck. You just who right? Like
yeah,
I was like a guy I dated introduced me to the chef and was like, okay, she's ready to go. And I was like, I'm not really ready to go. I didn't even graduate culinary school yet. Okay, yeah, yeah, put me in, coach. And so like on the line, I made possibly every mistake under the sun. But she graciously kind of held my hand, mentored me through, somehow did not fire me. And I learned every single one of those stations and even like took over for her for a while. And so like I think the one pinnacle moment that I still reflect on is we were in the middle of a really busy service and I was working what's called garde manger, like salad, cold stuff, easy stuff, dessert. Not sorry, pastry chefs. Not dessert is easy, but my station was easy. But I remember she like took a bite of one of the line cook's risotto he had just put up on the line, and she practically threw it back in his face and was like, "You did not cook that with love. Make it again." And I was like, "Oh, it's real. It's
yeah,
real." And tons of chefs have said. I've heard Rick Bayless say that. He's one of the famous chefs in Chicago. Like if you can kind of walk in and feel the energy, and you can, you're receiving physical nourishment, so you can kind of tell if like the line cooks in the back are scared of the chef, or or somebody who just like was having an off day. You can tell.
oh, yeah, yep. The energy
Yeah.
just transforms in a different form,
Mhm.
and I'll say that. Yeah, I'd say that to my wife all the time. Like even like I'll get a coffee or I'll get a sandwich or just something. I'm like they did not make this with love at at all. And
Mhm.
I mean I know I can tell like even like when I'm cooking and like there'll be times where like maybe it's just a crazy day and I'm like okay I need to hurry up and then cook something and it doesn't come out like I want it to compared to when I've got an hour to prepare and I'm just going
Mhm.
through, I've got my music on and I'm just, just cooking. And then my wife can, taste it and like, man, this tastes great. Like that's when I know
Oh.
like I took my time with it and I was sort of present with that food. I don't have to be a chef to know that. Um,
No, no.
and
I think everybody can cook. I need to
yeah,
say it
yeah,
5 more times. Everybody can cook. It's just muscle memory. Like you
yeah,
just once you do it and you get in tune with it, in touch with it, it's just using your two hands the best of your ability. I think. Yeah, I love that. You're absolutely right. Taking time, making time, not just taking the time, but like making the time to whatever your creative outlet is, actually giving it some weight and giving it time in your day.
yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that. I mean, when I make the time to focus on something, it turns out completely different than me saying, "Oh, I've got to hurry up, got to hurry up. I got 30 minutes. I
Yeah.
need to make something." And then, like I said, obviously people's got just different things going on. No judgment, but it's just one of those where we make the time for things. We really want to prepare something, we make the time for it, or we really want to go out to watch a movie, we make the time for it, or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, um, how about right now? So you're teaching right now. You're enjoying that. How did you get connected with Rob at Baba Coffee?
Oh my gosh, great question. It's just all in who you know, isn't it? It's just
Yeah,
we're constantly building our little communities. So my amazing real estate agent, his wife has become a dear friend of ours, and our real estate agent has too. Bryce Carrier. He is an amazing guy here in Oceanside, and
hmm,
he helped us find our home, my husband and I. And so that became this like lovely, incredible first friendship, which I still cling to. And so the the mother-in-law of our real estate agent, found out that I was a chef and that I love to teach. And she just so happened to be starting a new job at a high school. And so as soon as she called, I was like, yeah, I'll be right over. Let's get these kids cooking. So we started that program. And at the same time, she also introduced me to her neighbor, which happened to be Rob at Pava Coffee. And I think at first he probably was a little skeptical of me because everybody knows a chef, right? Everybody's like, oh, I know, I got a
yeah,
friend who's a chef. And so I think, of course, there was some skepticism until we got to hang out and I got to cook for him. And yeah, now we have a really special thing going over there every Friday. My husband and I rock and roll on a pasta station, make some nice Italian bites, which I is my heart song food. But yeah, it's all kind of a wild how who you know and saying yes, right?
oh yeah,
There it is again.
yeah. Uh, yeah, so the pasta. I said I'm a big fan of the menu. Like I said, I'm a pasta fanatic. I can really eat pasta every day if I wanted to. My wife, she's not a big fan of pasta. Like she'll eat it at times, but like if I had spaghetti every day or something like that, I would. That's it. Um, but yeah, I was actually tasting the menu, and I finally got to taste the ravioli
Mhm.
that you made. What, like, all these the things, the items that you have on the menu, like what is that
Mm.
inspired by? I mean, I
Oh,
know
good
it's sort
question.
of a weird. I mean, I like the whole menu, but I didn't know what your inspiration was for.
Yeah. So a lot of those items are things that I dreamed up while I was working in my executive chef role at the Italian restaurant. Things that were complete accidents in my in the kitchen, and things that were just specials we would put on the menu, and just things that I like to create, things that I think people will love. I think what we're doing with our menu right now too is we're starting out a little bit safe, so we're sort of making it super approachable, and I'm ready to get weird soon, but for now, I think we're doing something that's a little bit more, super comfort food and high quality, very and simple, kind of upscale, elegant without being too. I don't like. I've worked in restaurants where you turn liquids into foams and you create these like that's not my kind of cooking. I love doing it. I love being around it. I love eating it and enjoying it. But my kind of food is just good old fashioned comfort food that makes you feel satiated, feel nourished, and feel like you got something awesome out of your dish that wasn't like leaving you hungry afterwards.
Would you ever consider doing like a little sampler platter of
Oh,
some of the.
I love that idea. You said that once, and I'm gonna take it. I
I was
think
like,
that'd be
I was
great.
like, I want this.
But
Like, I
everything.
can't. And I'm one of those. I'm one of those. Like, I love concocting things. So like, I'll be
Mhm.
like, I want this, but add this. So I'm always love like samples. Like, I want to taste it every day.
Perfect. You're just in the bar next time. We're just gonna play. I'm just gonna give you all the extras.
Yep. Hey, I don't mind that.
I love it. I love it. Yes. Awesome.
So right now, so you're saying you're doing online virtual teaching.
Hmm.
Um, so
Yeah.
how did you get that? I mean, how did you get that set up?
COVID, a pandemic hit, and I still felt the deep, desperate desire to teach. And it actually started in San Francisco with a company I was working with as a children's culinary school called Culinary Artistas. And I was running all of their camps, and I was the director of education there. This was after I had left restaurant world, and so I was in charge of all of the children's education. And then I had also taken on doing some like corporate team building events and doing stuff in house with our beautiful studio space. And then pandemic made everything come to a screeching halt. But I was still like, how are we going to get this knowledge to kids? Like, we can't just stop. I met some of their parents, and I don't want them home by themselves. I need help. I don't know what to do, but I'm going to help. So we I didn't even know what Zoom was when COVID hit. I had never made an Instagram story. I didn't even know there was a button that was possible. So I just took it and ran with it and kind of forcefully started creating these opportunities to teach. And we were doing like free cook alongs with kids weekly. And we were approached by a couple different tech companies to see if we could do it for their team building activities since everything had switched to, remote work. And we just said yes. There it is again. Just said yes. We can figure it out. We'll make it happen. And we eventually came to design these really beautiful kits that we could mail across the country. So everybody could participate in the cooking. All their ingredients would be included. And then, bit by bit, that started to grow really fast. And so we got some really amazing connections with some very large tech companies, Google being one of them, that needed this, were, you know, hungry for these kind of things. And so that blew up over the last 2 years, and that's kind of what I got into. I still run them here and there now that everything's kind of transitioning back into normalcy.
Yeah.
I still run them here and there for schools and for corporate teams and families and people still, colleges for their like alumni events. And they're so fun. And they're like an hour and a half of just like, let's cook, make something happen, make a mess in your kitchen, and like by the end we eat something awesome.
Oh, wow.
It's super fun. And we sometimes will bring in like a live musician to play on Zoom, so it's kind of like dinner and a show. Or a dear friend of mine's a Broadway performer, bring a singer. So it's just like a whole performance.
Yeah. Are you still doing those? I mean, I know what
Yep.
everything's really. Oh, okay. All right. Cool. I didn't know
Yeah.
like with things easing up now. I didn't know if
How
you
many hats can I wear in a week? All of them.
were. I like how you think. So right now, I mean, so you like I said, you've had a quite a journey, and so
And it's only just begun.
oh yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, think about, oh, I'm only a decade in. I have so much work to
Oh yeah, you got another like 80 years to go.
do. Plus some.
Yeah, that's what I said. I plan on being 150. I'm going for
Yeah,
150.
amen.
I did.
That's
Um,
it.
so right now, I mean, what's been like the toughest thing that you've experienced recently? Just something that you've experienced, or maybe you've seen, and
Hmm.
and that sort of caused you to sort of change the way you perceive life, or
Yeah.
even just perceive, the things that you're doing right now. Has there been anything recently?
Hmm. Well, we all have some wild battles, I think, and I can think of a few that have really stuck out in my, over the last 12-year journey. One I've already shared with you, and that was who I am in the kitchen has
Yeah.
always proved a little bit difficult to form connections with the team I'm working with. A lot of times, when I walk in, I can feel that I'm not instantly trusted, and to me that makes sense. Um, but then I also have to kind of, I've felt in the past, specifically when I first started my culinary journey, that I needed to prove myself, and whatever that looked like, it could be something ridiculous like, no, I don't need any help. I'm going to lift the 50-pound bag of potatoes back up, or no, I don't need any help. I'm going to prep all of that in an hour and go. And or maybe, it meant I was coming in early and staying later than everybody else, just to kind of like hone whatever I was doing, and then maybe doing a terrible job passing off tasks to other people because I felt like I needed to do it. Um, Getting through that, I think there were a lot of like ups and downs, roller coaster ride of figuring out who you are in your industry, especially when I was a kid when I started, and I was taking on good and bad habits from people that I was working with, whether that was like feeling like I needed to shout to be heard and, getting angry, or sassing at some server, all of those things that I hated doing, but I felt like I needed to because that was like just what you did. Figuring out, kind of, again, refining my character in these environments, and recognizing that when I really just was myself, things just went better. So if I didn't put on a show or put on some sort of mask or act, things went smoothly. So kind of it, engaging that sort of trust in self. I think that's really, really hard if you're new to an industry, or you're stepping into a new role or a new job or whatever it might be. But especially when it's a creative outlet, you pour so much of yourself into it. Your heart, mind, body, soul goes into whatever it is you're making. Um, Even for me, that was like, flipping a burger. Like, I still wanted to put all of myself into it, and finding a way to do that in, like you said, present way and honest way, as Eliza, as me, not as like whoever I thought I needed to be in the kitchen. That took a little bit of learning. 12 years of learning. Still learning. um and I think that goes, that with every creative field, you have to kind of find your own voice and your own kind of spin on things, not only to keep it interesting for yourself, but interesting for your audience, right? Um, I also think, there was a pretty poignant moment when I was working in the restaurant world when I lost one of my grandparents, and when they passed away, I kind of realized that, life is so short. There just is no need to do the things that I'm not feeling fulfilled doing. So, I really felt called to make more time for family. I was like, I had missed so many Christmases and Easters and holidays because I was in a restaurant setting. And I was like, I don't do that anymore. So kind of also owning my priorities became a new kind of way I had to put my stamp on things and put my foot down about what I was going to do in the industry.
That's awesome answer. I mean, it's yeah. I think everybody's still, we're always, reframing and trying to, you know, change our story a lot of times. I mean,
Mm,
what we thought worked for so long, we get to a point where like it just no longer works. And, you can either keep trying to force the situation or,
yeah.
like you did, stop it and be like, it's time to repivot. Like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think and for you, I think you were courageous enough to, and you've always been one of those trailblazers. I could tell anyway that once you say yes to something or you say no to something, like that's it.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of times people, we get used to just, we'll get into a situation knowing that's not, like we can only do so much, and we still keep trying to push,
Hmm.
we get to a certain point where it's, sometimes it's like it's too late. I don't know if it's necessarily too late to change, but
Yeah.
you would want to try to do that in an earlier, stage in your
Yeah.
journey than, um, but yeah, it's just one of those where we're always reframing our story, always changing, what we thought, who we always trying to figure out who we are and what we thought we are, and it changes.
I think in those moments is when, like you said, you go back to the breadcrumb trail. Like,
Yeah,
like stop trying to force yourself through a wall that isn't going to open.
Yeah.
If you can be a little more open to what the world is saying, like look back at the breadcrumb trail. I like that motto. I'm gonna keep that. Like,
I'm
like go back
trademarking
to
it now.
yeah, trademark that. Trademark it before I do. Go back to the breadcrumb trail. Like there is a through line, and if you can come back to whatever it is that either gave you joy or brought you fulfillment, that's a good start. And pace yourself from there.
Yep, don't work. Let's go back to the drawing board. Like, what made you feel fulfilled? Let's go back to that, and then let's see where we can go. I mean, it's just, I think everybody had those points in their life. Everybody had those points where it's like, man,
Oh yeah.
this is something I am in love to. This is something I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And then we got those situations where like, this is forcing the issue. And I think just being smart enough and wise enough to know the difference and know like when you need to when you need to fold or put all your cards in and let's see where it goes. But it's always trial and error. So, but yeah, that's a great answer. Great answer. So right now, I mean, what things are inspiring you right now?
All the kids I teach, holy cow, I wish you could see them in action. It is so amazing to watch somebody who has never been allowed to make a mess or never been allowed to pick up a knife or never been told that they actually could do something important with their hands, do those things. And I get chills. Oh, I'm so proud, especially I'm gonna get in there. Oh, I'm gonna get emotional.
Hey,
I'm so proud of my high school kids. They shot. Sometimes they do it better than I do, and I am just like in awe of the tenacity, their drive, their desire to achieve, their like want to do better and do right. And these are kids who are coming from a background that is not necessarily ideal, right? They may have a broken home or they're on their own, or they're kids who are struggling in their high school, so they move to this particular high school so that they can regain credits and kind of get back on track and figure out how to use their time wisely. So these kids, man, they teach more than I teach. Like I get more from them, I think, than I give to them. So I think I that's what really inspires me is those little tiny moments of empowerment. The reason I fell in love with cooking at the start, when I was a college kid and I was cooking for myself for the first time was because I felt empowered. I got the tools to take care of myself. And that is a crazy kind of independence that, food has a pretty cool gift of giving. So I think that's what really motivates me is watching. And my students have ranged from 3 years old. I was teaching little toddlers all the way up to 89 years old, depending on what walk of life I was in. If I was working in the restaurant that was a nonprofit or I was training some people we would have working at the restaurant. I've had a lot of students. And I think just giving them that empowerment is what makes me want to just like keep going in this direction.
Great. That's great. Yeah, it's nothing. Hang on, when you see those little kids and those high school kids, man, when that light bulb pops on, that there, I think there's no better fulfillment because it's like now
Mm.
it's like I don't have to teach anymore. Like you got it.
Yeah,
Like you
you
know
got
what?
it.
Yeah,
Oh, that's it. That's it. As soon as you give them that little tiny, like, so hard to trust yourself when you're a kid, right? But
yeah,
when you give them that little moment, and kid of all age, I mean, I'm talking like these techies that I hang out with doing these virtual events, they may be in their 30s, they may be in their 40s, but you give them that little moment of trust in themselves. And like, I tell all my students, like, your two hands are the greatest tools you have. So giving them that kind of like newfound confidence in what they can do for themselves is just like unmatchable. It's so cool.
So right now, this is a question I ask everyone, all my guests. Creative tips. What is a creative tip or tips that you can provide our audience?
Follow the breadcrumb trail. I think from the seat that I have, I guess I want everybody to be more engaged with how they feed themselves. It does not have to be upscale, fabulous French cuisine. It can be as simple as making an awesome grilled cheese sandwich. But just getting a little bit more in tune and in touch with nourishing ourselves will directly impact kind of the rest of your life. So I think in creative terms, finding the things that I feel like it's so easy to say and so hard to do, but finding the things that give you fulfillment are what make the difference in a life well lived. And so having the tenacity to say no to the things that aren't fulfilling you and say yes to the things that are, whether it's like whatever you're cooking for yourself or your actual career move, that's that's what's going to bring a little bit more light to anybody's life is trying to pursue the things that bring fulfillment. And I use that word a lot because I love that there's two. I have full and fill in the middle of it. So like I mean, it's like destined to be my word. But fulfillment, real, true, actual reward that gives back to you in a meaningful way, that makes you get excited to get out of bed. And perhaps, and I'm gonna go, I feel like my mom when I talk like this, but I really believe that all of us have a very deep-seated mission to leave the world a little better than we found it. And it could be the tiniest little blip of anything. But I believe that if you can do that, then you've achieved what you were set on the earth to do, right? If you can just leave it a little better, whatever that looks like. And I think if you pursue those sorts of missions and goals, your creativity can just blossom because then it stops being just about you and it's about something bigger, right? Mama soapbox.
Yeah, hey.
Stop me now.
So, words of wisdom. I mean, since we're on the soapbox right here. Words of wisdom. What are some words of wisdom that you can share with our audience?
Hmm. Well, I think anything that Julia Child ever wrote is liquid gold. So just look her up. um, one thing that I always kind of found inspiring to me was uh, a Bible quote, and I don't think it really matters what faith or belief you have, but it's very simple. It's three words: be joyful always. And so, whatever that looks like, whatever you can create in your life that brings you that, whatever that might be, joy, I think is really essential. And I think I went to a Catholic university and we had this motto there that was be who you are and be that well, which is a pretty heavy, that's a high task, right? Be who you are and be that well. So I talked a little bit about that when I was sort of expanding on trying to find myself in my industry, trying to be me in a crazy world that didn't really seem accepting of me and, all the restaurants I was working in. But I think I like to put a little spin on it and I say, feed who you are and feed that well. So for me, that's my little slogan.
I like that. I'm about to share that with my class here.
Yeah, oh God, I have so many good philosophers to share with you. Be who you are and be that well. What a task. St. Francis de Sales, that guy.
So, right now, what are some upcoming projects that you're brewing on? Something that you sort of got stirred in your head right now? Maybe you got it on paper. Is there anything you got going on?
Uh-huh. We got a bunch. So we have these awesome happenings that are going on at Baba Coffee every Friday. That's brand new. We've only done it for 5 weeks. That's gonna hopefully stick around. And as he expands, he's gonna be able to hopefully bring us on a little bit more. But we're there every Friday, 4 to 8 p.m. In Carlsbad. And then we're also partnering with a local winery called the Coomber Winery here in
Yep, love
Oceanside.
Coomer.
Love Coomber. And we're going to be doing a dinner there, a wine pairing dinner at the end of the month on March 28th. It's a Monday night. Doing a little fun Eliza pop-up wine pairing. It's going to be awesome. And then hopefully, I have in the works potentially having some cooking classes there as well, at the winery, and growing and building from there. I've got a few college speaking engagements lined up, and just the more kids and schools that I can get into, even if it's just for a one-time speaking engagement, the better. So that's what's also coming down the pipeline for the fall.
That's great. Now your husband? I know we've talked a little bit before. Now is your husband? He's like the
Bless
assistant.
him.
Is he like the assistant?
Bless.
That's my buddy. That's my
He's
buddy.
my sous chef. He's my you can't call him he's my sous chef. Yeah, he's excellent in all that he does. He's my schlepper. He helps me carry all the things from here to there. He is awesome at setting up. He is, he takes the orders for me. He helps run things. He won't say it, but he's also a phenomenal cook. When it comes to things that involve smoke or fire. So anything that's grill, open flame, smoke heat, righteous. I let him cook some of the things, if you can believe it, which is awesome. But yeah, he's my right hand man, which is great. It's good that we're still married after that. That says a lot for us.
Yeah, I would say so. I was like, wow. I mean, the journey you had, you've got to have someone that's got to be pretty patient.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel
Mm-hmm.
like he balances you out a little bit.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. I can be like way up in the clouds, and he helps keep me grounded, I think. So, so he is really great actually at reminding me. Mother Teresa says, if you can't feed 1,000, feed just one. And sometimes I get real busy trying to feed 1,000.
Yep.
And he helps remind me, like, you just feed one today. Just feed one. So that's helpful to have a yin yang situation.
Yes. Yep. That is the truth. That is the truth. Yeah, my wife, she grounds me, and my head is usually somewhere in the galaxy somewhere. But yeah, you always gotta have that person to sort of balance you out, or you'll get lost real quick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Rabbit holes.
So right now, so how can people reach out to you for any kind of media inquiries, food bookings, speaking
Mm.
engagements? What's the best way to contact you?
Yes, thank you for asking. So my email is my fastest response method. I am at ElizaTheChef.com. Pretty easy. My handles are the same, at Eliza the Chef.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, like I said, I've got an audience on the East and West Coast, so
Woo!
like I said, they'll have access to you now, and so yeah, this is and like I said, this has been a great episode. Well, it definitely could have talked about all kinds of things for another hour or so, but yeah, definitely, like I said, this is one of those where and I think Rob actually got me in contact with you, and then we got
Yep.
connected from there. So yeah, it's just one of those where he's good guy, and I actually got connected with him through COVID, and I just wanted to reach out to just a lot of the local businesses and coffee shops and just support them. And I think I recorded a podcast there, and you know, just support it, and we just became friends after that. So yeah, it's just I think it's just one of those where that creating those relationships, creating those networks, and you just never know who you connect with. And I was like, I told my brother, because my brother loves to cook, and I was like, hey, I got this lady named Eliza. She's like, she won the Chop Championship. And he's like, how do you make these people? And
You just say yes. You just say yes.
yeah. Please check out Eliza Martin, everything she's doing. She'll actually be at the time of this recording, this Friday, she'll be at Baba Coffee. So please swing by, check it out, support her, support what she's doing, support Baba. I think that's when you have a healthy ecosystem. When people can come in and support others, that's when everybody can rise together. So other than that, hey, this has been another awesome episode with me, with Eliza, and be creative, stay inspired.